Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ Group Tài nguyên dựng phim. Nghiêm cấm các hành vi lít về rồi bán cho thằng khác. Mọi ý kiến đóng góp xin gửi về Facebook Quỳnh Ngọc Tân.
Now that we have our story kind of roughly put into the timeline, let's take a look at how to adjust each clip. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and close my media pool so we have lots of room to work here. Again, I'm just on single viewer mode, which you can toggle on and off with this little button right here. Because I'm focusing on the timeline, we're just going to have the timeline below and the timeline viewer up top. There are a few basic ways that you can kind of adjust a clip. I'll start by zooming in here with this little plus button. You can also hit Control plus on the keyboard. And let's start with making a clip shorter or longer. If I mouse over the edge of a clip, my mouse turns into this little bracket. And if I grab that, I can adjust the edge and basically change the in and the out points of my clip. I can have a clip start later and end sooner just by grabbing those edges and moving them. You'll notice that when I do that, it kind of makes this gap in our timeline. And what happens when we play this back, if I hit space, it actually shows black here because during this time, there's no clip that's being shown. And so most of the time, we don't really want these blank spaces in the timeline. And we can change that a few different ways. One way is I can just grab this clip and move it back and forth. And I can move it down so it touches the end of the previous clip. And now we can play this back and we don't have any black in between. That's a little bit easier if we have this button selected right here, snapping, because now this will actually snap to the edges of things, either to my playhead or to the edge of a clip, and I don't have to kind of guess. If I don't have this on, then I can kind of put this willy-nilly wherever I want. So it's nice to have snapping on when you're doing things like that. So that's how you move a clip back and forth, is just grab it and move it. You can also move it up a track, and whatever video is on top, that's the one that is going to show. So now we're playing this clip, and we don't see the clip under it because it's on top. But if I move this over, then we see the clip under it. If you've ever done video editing before, this should make a whole lot of sense. But if you're new to it, this is really how almost all video editors work. Now let's say I want to split this clip in two. Maybe I want to show this part of the clip, and then later I want her line. Well, I can split this clip a few different ways. One way is I can go to the toolbar here and grab the blade. And wherever I mouse over here on the clip, I can just click and that will split my clip. I can go back to my selection mode, and now I have this split into two clips. The other way I can do it is split this with the playhead. So if I park the playhead right where I want to split things, I can hit Control / on the keyboard. That's the slash that's right above the return key, and that will split it right there at the playhead. This is usually how I do it, because I like to kind of use this to sort of aim where I want to split the clip, and then just hit Control / to split it. And if you turn off snapping, you can really move pretty quick by just grabbing the playhead and hitting Control / wherever you want to split a clip. Pretty fancy. I'll hit Control Z a bunch of times to go back. And then let's say I want to get rid of this empty space, but I don't want to grab this clip and move it down. See, for instance, there might be a gap right here, and I don't want to move all of my clips down like this to get rid of the gap. I can actually just select this empty space here just by clicking where it's empty, and I can hit backspace on the keyboard, and that'll get rid of it and suck all the clips down, just like that. And most of the time, if you have an edit, you want everything to be sucked up to the left edge of your timeline. You don't really want any gaps there, because remember, we play from left to right, just like we read from left to right. That's how our story flows as well. One last thing I'll show you about just editing in the timeline is this second icon here is called Trim Edit Mode. Right now, we're just in normal selection mode. But if we switch to Trim Edit Mode, we have a couple different options when we mouse over our clips. One that I use all the time, if I mouse over the edge of the clip like I'm just going to trim it, if I'm in trim selection mode and I trim this to be shorter, all the other clips go along with it and we don't have a gap there. So this is really nice if you're going through and making sure everything is, just trimmed a little bit, then you don't have to delete the gap every single time. Very, very handy. The other thing you can do with this mode is if you want to use a different section of the clip, you can just mouse over to where there's the 2 brackets with the 2 arrows in the middle. And you can click and drag to the right or left, and it moves the contents of the clip back and forth without actually changing where it is in the timeline. So you can kind of just select a different section of the clip. You can also do sort of the opposite by mousing over the bottom part of a clip where it has the arrows on the outsides of the brackets, and that keeps the same ins and outs of the clip, but it moves the clip back and forth in the timeline and kind of fills in the gaps with the clips around it. That's a really fast way to work if you're just trying to pick a certain part of the clip, let's say these 2 little waveforms here, and you want that to be just right and at a very certain place. So that's trim edit mode. The normal way is just your selection mode. So there's a lot of different tools that you'll use in the edit page, but those are the main ways that you can move and change your clips as far as where they live in the timeline.